If I'd known the Voynich Manuscript would cost me my job, I might have let the damn thing gather dust. But curiosity doesn't whisper. It barges in, loud and reckless. It started on a rainy Tuesday. Professor Lyle called me into his cluttered office at the university archives. "We got something strange in the new donation," he said, sliding a wooden box toward me. "It's your kind of weird." I lifted the lid, and there it was, thick, bound in dark leather, the Voynich Manuscript. I'd seen pictures, read the theories. Hoax. Alien diary. Secret code. But seeing it in person, it felt alive, like it was waiting. "You're kidding," I said. "Not even a little." The collector claimed it was its special edition. I thought he was nuts until I opened it. He wasn't lying. The pages were different. Slightly reordered. The ink was darker in spots. And someone had scribbled tiny notes in the margins in Latin, Greek, and something that looked like a ciphered English. Lyle leaned in, whispering like we were being watched. "We think it's annotated by someone who cracked part of it." My eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously. That night, I took scans of the manuscript home. Just the annotated sections, nothing more. I didn't want to risk damaging the original. I sat in my little apartment surrounded by books, tea, and a Google tab open to every ancient cipher forum I could find. The annotations weren't random. They hinted at substitutions, rotations. Page 33V had a note that read, "Language as map. Letters as places. Think coordinates, not words." I nearly dropped my pen. That line, it wasn't just cryptic. It was brilliant. The Voynich script wasn't just a language. It was a map. The next few days blurred. I barely ate. Barely slept. It became an obsession. Each page offered just enough sense to pull me deeper, like breadcrumbs in the dark. Then I reached a section of the manuscript I hadn't seen scanned before. It had no annotations, but something about it felt off. Almost too clean. I went back to the archive and convinced Lyle to let me examine the original again. That's when I found it, something no skin could have shown. Pressed into the back cover was a thin sheet of paper, nearly transparent, hidden inside the binding. I held it to the light. It was a letter. In English. Handwritten in tight, sharp script. To whomever finds this, I deciphered the manuscript. Not all of it. But enough. It's not a book of spells, or nonsense, or alien messages. It's a warning. The language is a cipher layered over a medieval medical manual written by a woman, possibly a healer, who knew far too much. She encoded her knowledge to hide it from the church. But that's not the dangerous part. The plants. They're real. They're extinct. But some could come back. They were too powerful. Some cured everything. Others killed quietly. Entire families. Entire villages. Someone is trying to recreate them. The letter ended there. No signature. I went straight to Lyle. "You're not going to believe this," I said, heart racing, as I handed him the sheet. He scanned it, slowly, then looked up. "Where did you get this?" "It was in the binding. Hidden." His face went pale. "That's not possible." "Why?" He pulled out a folder from his drawer, hands shaking. Inside was a near-identical letter, same script, same words, dated 15 years ago, from a researcher named Dr. Clara Weiss. She'd vanished while studying the Voynich Manuscript in Prague. "No one ever found her," he said. So I did what I had to. I went back to the annotated pages and mapped out every plant illustration. Each had subtle cues, symbols, notations, even soil types. Cross-referencing the notes and the cipher gave me something astonishing: locations. Forests, mountains, abandoned villages. Someone, Clara, had left a trail. After I found the hidden letter in the Voynich Manuscript, I couldn't just walk away. Someone out there had been trying to bring back long-lost plants, extinct species with the power to heal or to kill. And the trail had been left for a reason. I wasn't about to hand that over to bureaucrats or locked-room academics. If Clara Weiss vanished chasing these plants, I needed to see what she saw. So I called in the only people I trusted. First was Nina Alvarez, a field botanist who once smuggled samples out of a war zone just to preserve a vanishing rainforest. Brilliant. Unafraid. and impossible to intimidate. Next came Dr. Malikshan, my old university roommate turned cryptolinguist. He once decoded a 15th century Ottoman diary that had baffled scholars for decades just to impress a girl. Last was Sanjay Rao, a wilderness survival expert and amateur herbalist who'd lived off-grid for 2 years after a burnout. He knew how to find food, fix radios, and build a shelter out of moss. We met in a cabin deep in the Scottish Highlands. The first location marked in the coded plant diagrams. The manuscript had led us here, via coordinates hidden in the margin of folio 78R. A symbol beside the plant looked like a Celtic knot linked to the old Druidic groves. The weather was miserable. Wind howled. Rain painted everything silver. We huddled over my notes in the cabin. This plant, Nina said, pointing to the illustration, doesn't match anything modern. But the leaf structure resembles a strain of Scopolia carniolica. Highly toxic. If it exists, it could be a precursor. Or a mutation. Or, said Malik, flipping through his decoded notes, it's not the plant that's toxic. It's what it absorbs. Look, blood in the roots, sleep in the fruit. That's a reference. Possibly poetic. Possibly literal. We hiked into the woods the next day. It took hours, but eventually, in a clearing lit by weak afternoon sun, we found it. A plant that didn't belong. Vivid green leaves shaped like sickles. Purple-black fruit hanging low and heavy. Nina whispered, "That's not right." Sanjay knelt and carefully cut a stem. The sap was red. Not reddish red. We brought it back, sealed, to the cabin. Nina ran tests. No match in any database. That night, I found a new letter slipped under the door. You're not the first. You won't be the last. Be careful what you grow. See? Clara Weiss, Malik said quietly. She's alive. Or someone wanted us to think so. We followed the trail across Europe. One location led to the Carpathians, where we uncovered a root system believed extinct since the 1700s, used by a forgotten sect of healers to treat the plague. Another led us to the ruins of a monastery in Italy, where a monk had tried to catalog the Voynich plants long before it ever surfaced in Prague. Each place, each plant, had duality. One part poison, one part cure. And at each location, we found traces of someone ahead of us. Notes. Pressed leaves. Once, a half-burned journal page signed only with C. Months later, we arrived in the Caucasus Mountains, our final mark. We trekked through fog-choked ravines to a cave covered in vines. Inside, an underground greenhouse. Lit artificially. Monitored. Alive. Someone had built it. Recently. And inside that greenhouse was a woman. Pale, sharp-eyed, draped in layers of wool and leather. She didn't flinch when we entered. Took you long enough, she said. Clara? I asked. She nodded slowly. You disappeared, I said. Everyone thought. They wanted me gone. Easier than silencing the truth. You wrote the letter in the manuscript. She looked past me, to Nina. And you found them. The old plants. They deserve to be known again. Preserved. Understood. Or buried, Sanjay muttered. Clara stepped aside and revealed a table full of seedlings. They aren't evil, she said. They're forgotten. And knowledge, once forgotten, turns dangerous. We stayed a week with her. Took samples. Notes. No one tried to stop us. Clara wasn't hiding. She was waiting for the right people to carry her work forward. And then we left. We didn't publish. Not yet. We built a small lab, independently funded. No press. No academic politics. Just data, analysis, and soil under our nails. The Voynich Manuscript wasn't meant to be solved. It was meant to be inherited. By someone willing to dig in the dirt. To risk obsession. To listen. We are no longer looking for answers. We are growing them.